Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I am Nicole and I live in India. And tonight I'm with my very good and sometimes only friend, Laurence. And she is here to help me watch a video about safety for women in India.
Okay.
So this is a touchy subject, all right? And I have touched on it briefly in some other videos that I have, talked about or watched. I actually talk about it in my video that I did with Max Chernoff. We talked about safety and some of the things that as a foreigner I have dealt with here in India. And I got a lot of different responses in the comments, So it's a touchy subject. Are women safe here in India? What do you think, Laurence? Let me give my perspective.
Okay.
In general, I have to say, I feel safe here. I feel safe walking late at night in Bangalore. I feel safe taking trains by myself, which I have. I feel safe. And trains to Hyderabad, I'm at least alone. I've taken buses. I've traveled all over India alone with my children. I've traveled all over India just alone, like with a friend, not like alone, but without male companionship. And I have never felt unsafe. But then again, I treat India like I treat any other place. I treat it with respect in that regard that I don't flash my money around. I keep my valuables safe. I would never put myself in an unsafe position or situation. Yeah. I don't go out and get high and, fall into the bushes. Yeah. I make sure that if I'm alone, that I am safe. I'm in a safe area. I'm doing something around other people. What I would do anywhere. Okay. Not just here. Okay. But what I would do anywhere. But in general, I feel safe. I'm happy that there are no guns here, at least not. There are guns, but not like.
That's the question. If you, wherever else you go, knowing that you take the same precaution as the ones you're taking here, are there places where you feel unsafe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have been to different areas and different cities in Europe and even in the US where I have felt like, like
holding to your bag.
Yeah, like really holding, and I've never really had to really hold my bag. And like, if I hold my bag here, it's more like just to make sure someone's not like slicing it from the bottom or something like that. But but I've never been really afraid here. Yeah. But I have had things happen to me here. Yeah. I touched on it before. I've had people touch me. I've had things said to me. I have been followed. I have been, I've had things happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And although too, that also can happen outside, anywhere,
Exactly.
And that was a lot of the comments that I got on that video was that, this happens everywhere, and it does. Okay. So I think though, as a foreigner in India, it can be amplified here because we are so, I don't know, it's different, or I mean, I don't know what the word is. It just is,
I think it's more that because you are a foreigner somewhere, the predators who
might target you.
Who will target you thinking that because you are a foreigner, you are defenseless. And that's the only reason. So yes, it can happen anywhere, but when it happens to foreigners in any country, it's always because
they were targeted.
They are foreigners, so it's easier to think they will not know where to go, how to react, what to say, or these kind of things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and see what the perspective is here. Are Indian women safe, or are women safe in India?
Or what do they feel?
What do they feel?
Do you feel safe in India?
No.
No.
No, absolutely not.
It depends, you know.
I kind of do.
80% yes.
That gruesome murder of the medical student had sparked off fierce psychosis.
The alarming rates of violence against women.
Honestly, due to male privilege, I do feel safer than a woman here.
I wouldn't say I felt particularly unsafe. There were always times where I would feel unsafe, like a particular gathering or if I went out in certain areas, things like that. But overall, I did have a sense of safety because it is my country. I've lived here all my life and this is all I know, right?
Even when we go by cab or something, we have to send our live location to our friends or whoever we trust, right?
How often have you felt unsafe?
Almost every day. Like, honestly, I feel very blessed to even reach home safely, especially with like everything going on at the moment. It scares the shit out of me.
So it's constant.
Yes, it's constant. You're always highly aware. And that's very exhausting.
Of like, I'm not safe every time I step out. And I think that just kind of stays with you through the rest of your life.
If something goes wrong, will I be able to protect her if there are a group of people? No, because I'm not a martial artist or, MMA fighter. But
I was attacked by 3 people for money. They punched me when I delayed to pay them.
Every single day, you have to step out of your house knowing that a man can potentially make you feel unsafe because of the previous experiences you've had. Yeah, it's very common actually. To be honest, it's very common.
I've been multiple times where I've been like followed home. So I'm a biker as well. So like even riding back home in the nights, I've been followed home for no reason at all. We were standing and I was getting some coke. And then this guy kept staring. So all I asked him was what? And then I told my mom, like, look at this asshole, how he's staring. And then he went past and he came back. And he stood right there, and he kept staring at us. So I'm like, what? Like, what do you want? And then he goes all the way, my mom, and then he starts like shouting in Kannada. My mom was like, just shut up, like enough, just go.
Yeah.
He goes all the way, picks up stones just to come back. And but the best part was, there was so many people around us. So many people. Not one person came forward. But you should see the way they stare at us, It's like they can see right through us. And that's so annoying. And like when a woman knows, they know.
Yeah.
They know the look. So after a while, it just starts getting a bit much. And when you ask them what, they act like nothing happened. Right. The thing is, they don't take responsibility, and that's really annoying, and that angers me even more.
I don't even remember how old I was the first time I experienced something like that, and I think I can pretty confidently say that every woman has experienced it probably before they've even hit teen years, and it could be as simple as being groped on a bus, or being groped in a public area, or a family member or a relative sitting too close, or being touched inappropriately. 3 of us went for a girls' trip at Kolkarna. We had an incident over there, and this guy was...
Yeah, he started following us at the starting and he offered us drink, okay. He said he'll buy us a big vodka and that. We said, no need for it. Yeah, there's no need for such things, okay. And he started crying. We captured a video of that. And we filed a fire also.
I guess I was in 11th grade. I'm not really sure, but I was in a cab and basically sexually assaulted by the taxi driver. And yeah, that is an incident that was like, it's still there in my mind, obviously.
So in general, I am very chatty. I'm very bold in nature and very loud. But when I go outside, especially when I see crowds, I tend to be a little bit more sober. And like before, if anything, I would like immediately scream or something, or like, just defend myself. But at the moment, with everything going on, like most of the time I'm just, like, okay, let's just let it go. Because all I need to do is reach home safely.
What are some problematic things that men say without realizing it?
Trying to give solution rather than giving comfort. Like usually, at least for me, I'm more logical. I try to see what is a problem and try to see how to solve it. But sometimes they just want to share how they feel.
They'll be like, don't wear the dress because other boys will be looking. Another thing, don't post such photos in social media. You'll be like, okay, other boys will be watching and they'll be saying something. Slut shaming, body shaming. There's a lot of things that have been normalized and people don't even realize that they're saying something problematic because it's so common to say it and it's a part of your everyday conversation.
If a woman has a history with a bunch of other men, or she had a history with other men, it's kind of looked down on, and it's like a taboo of some sort. But if a guy does it, you know, he's considered player or whatever. I feel like that's something. It's a double standard.
Have you ever called out men in your life?
Absolutely, yeah. I think from a really young age, and I started getting a tag of like almost anti-men or like being too standoffish. But I think it starts with that, with your friend circle. It doesn't even have to be, it's really easy to call out a stranger that you'll never see again. But with your own friend circle, when you're sitting around with your friends, if they crack a joke or like most guys as well who say like not all men, show me your boys group chat and then we'll see if not all men.
They usually don't realize that they're saying something problematic, but when you are the subject of that conversation, you feel bad about it, you feel like it's something that should not have been said, and the others don't even realize that.
Basically, like if some guy is like staring a girl, it doesn't look good, like I'm calling him out, don't do that. You know, you might feel okay, like it's cool to check out someone, but you're teasing someone, right? You're giving a glare. It makes really someone uncomfortable. If I keep looking at you, you'll also get uncomfortable. They don't really give a shit unless it's their mother, sister or girlfriend who's getting the same treatment.
Why do they have to be related to you for you to like tell them that's another human being, that's another life? You can't just pick and choose what you want, right?
But I know a lot of times I should have when I have not done it. I know, I just have a fear of them not liking me if I call them out, or really they say some really messed up stuff. And you know, people pass off a lot of things as dark humor, and like there's a limit to it at points. You don't cross certain lines with it.
You know, many a times you just let it pass because these are very funny, light-hearted conversations. You don't want to change the tone of it. And I think that's why most people, including me, have been like hesitant to call people out on it, even when you realize that it's not something that should be said.
When we call out, they'll be like, what the fuck did I do?
What are your thoughts on the not all men argument?
Okay, they might say not all men, but it is every woman at the end of the day. You know, every woman, whether they are small, whether they're old, whether if you're big, whether if you look aggressive, it doesn't matter. It's all women. So the least you could do is be empathetic, listen and make the change, you know, like make the change for someone else. That's it. You can't keep saying not all men, not all men. It's not solving anything. So either like you bring a solution, but just don't be the problem. That's it.
Like, it's not all men, but it's always a man.
When you say not all men, how do I know which men? You're basically trying to avoid the accountability. Like most men think, okay, I didn't commit that crime. Why should I be scrutinized over it? I was not the person to do that. But I think as a society, it is each and every one of our responsibility to make this a safer environment for not only women, but all of us.
I have no opinion on that. Because I'm very ignorant on it. I'm very insulated on all these things. I just stay in my bubble.
But don't you think staying ignorant kind of stops the progress that women deserve? Like, have you ever thought about like maybe educating yourself on these things?
No.
You never thought it was necessary to?
For me personally,
What changes would you like to see, either through education or through the judicial system?
Okay, so the problem is, first of all, the whole macho thing comes in the middle and the ego keeps taking part in it, you know. So like sometimes you just need to tell me, you know, like, shut up, like sit down and just listen, you know, like just listen. But that's the problem, you know, like see, even when it comes to men, a lot of them are taught to like bottle up their emotions. So they always have outbursts regarding a lot of things. Even this whole thing about men should not cry, men should like protect and stuff like that, I do understand that. Okay, but they have emotions. They are human at the end of the day. So what happens with most of the men is at this one point, that whole rage, whatever has been bottled up, it comes out and there's an outburst. So even men should be taught that having emotions are fine.
Actually, these men should have common sense first of all. Sex education must be provided in colleges as well as schools. And education among awareness about this should be given to minors.
I definitely think education would help a lot, of course. I think a lack of education is a really big contributor to these things. But currently the way our country is running is that we really need harsher punishment for the kind of issues that are happening, because at this point it's inhumane, right? Like we're living in a country where a monitor lizard was gang raped. And if there's no fear of anything, there's no fear of consequences, there's no fear of I could potentially get in trouble for this. Like Nirbhaya should have been a big enough example to the country that something like this should not fly, but clearly it hasn't been, right? It hasn't instilled any fear. And so if men are still out there with the audacity and the entitlement to be like, I can rape a woman and then murder her and get away with it. Like just think about in other countries as well, wherever, like murdering someone and getting away with it is like the fear of not being able to get away with it would stop them from the murder. But here it's like the entitlement is just so heavy that yeah, I can definitely like kya hi ho jayega, I'll be in prison for a while, bail mil jayega or whatever.
The fact that most abuse happens not because of sexual urges, but because of the man's need to assert their dominance. Because we as a society have taught men that you are weak if you don't assert your dominance. And you have to have an ego or you're not a man.
There is no reason to go above and beyond to prove that it's not all men.
It is completely unrelated to how you dress, because otherwise we wouldn't be seeing news of, every other day of animals being abused, children being abused, women in burqa being abused. They're completely covered. It's not about how they dress.
No means no. Because a lot of times, even in schools, the girls are being educated to not show their knees or stay safe, when the guys are just left like that.
The fact that, for a victim to get justice is so delayed in this country itself is a huge issue. You have actually seen parents tell their children, don't talk to boys, don't talk to girls. It forms an unnecessary animosity, towards each other. Justice does not only depend on an instance that has happened, it depends on proof. You need to produce that proof. Very generally known concept also is that justice delayed is equivalent to justice not being served. So that's something as a nation, as a government, as a judicial system that we need to keep in mind, that justice should not be this delayed.
From the answers we gathered, one thing was pretty clear. The people we talk to want change. Change that doesn't just come in the form of a better judicial system, education, or awareness campaigns, but change in the fundamental outlook of man. Change that comes from men acknowledging social issues and not staying silent about them. Change that comes from them questioning their friends, holding the men in their social circles accountable for the things they say. Something needs to change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes.
That was an interesting video. There's a couple points. I really feel bad for that first woman who said that she feels
very
unsafe all the time. Like that, to live in that type of, I guess, hyper state of awareness, and to
But then it's also because, in the story she
narrated,
no one moved, no one did
no one
anything.
helped.
So then in that case, you are absolutely convinced that if something happens to you,
no one's going to help you.
Yeah, no one will help you. And unfortunately, that's true in most of cases, because people don't want
to get involved.
Yeah, if the guy has a stone, then you might think twice before you go. But at the end of the day, it's like, male wants to show their dominance and all of that. But men are not stupid.
No.
They will come and try to dominate you. They don't target every woman.
Yeah,
right?
they target women that they think they can get away with
They
it.
can get away with, which comes back to the foreigner, it's easy kind of a thing. So yes, it's education from both sides, but I also think that every woman in school should have a defense class, or something.
Yeah, something to teach them.
Something that even if she can't, but she believes
Gives
she
more
can.
confidence
Yeah.
and gives more. Yeah, that could help. I also think that you have a young son, I have a son, and I think we as mothers, we need to do better, like in general. Yeah, like we need to raise men that will, if they see something, they'll say something. If, that they will be there to protect the women that are in their social circles, and to help the other men around them also act in a similar way. I hope that I am raising a son like that. Yeah. I mean, and I have to say too, this isn't, we touched on it before initially, this isn't a strictly India problem.
No.
I was harassed in the US as well. So it happens everywhere. She made the point, you know, it's every woman, and it really is. You know, you might ask your mom, and your mom might say, no, that never happened, but it has. Yeah. And your sister and everyone, it has happened to all of us, and it's really unfortunate. And it was also brought up that, you know, it happens early. You know, I can remember the first time it happened to me. I was 13. Yeah. So I think that it's a really good topic. I like the fact that they are, you know, it's from an Indian perspective, but I have to say it's a global problem. It's something that we really need to try to work on globally. What were the points you wanted to?
No, I really liked what one of them said, because I had a similar issues at home. So he said sometimes we don't need to find a solution; we just need to be there to listen.
Yeah.
And I had an argument between my son and my daughter some 2 years back, I think, where she felt uncomfortable and she said it. She said, "Oh, I shouldn't have worn shorts because I don't like men looking at me." And instead of him saying, he's much younger than her, so instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry you're feeling this way," whatever, which is what she was looking for, he said, "Then you should have worn something."
You should have worn something else.
And so that created a huge
Argument.
fight and arguments between the two of them. And that's true. Sometimes you don't always need solutions when you face these kind of things. You just have to express it and have someone on the
There
other
to
side who's
listen.
ready to listen.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nanos.
Hmm.
All right. So, I mean, going back, I mean, I really feel bad that the majority of these women here feel unsafe.
I don't feel unsafe, to answer your question from the beginning at all, but I don't feel unsafe anywhere. But that's also a matter of personality.
Maybe it is. Yeah. I also
I'm
like.
completely oblivious of people. I don't see people looking at me or not at me or whatever. And I also feel that I can do whatever a man can do. So if you want to punch me, I will punch you back for sure.
She can punch. So.
No, but at the end of the day, that's the attitude.
That's the attitude that you have.
I have.
And that's the attitude that also keeps you safe.
Yeah. Because that's the attitude I have. A predator is not going to target me, or if he targets me, before deciding to target me, he will look at other possibilities which are easier than me.
Easier. Yeah. Interesting. So this was an interesting video. I really liked it. I hope you guys did too. If you did like the content, please give that like, please give the subscribe. As always, we love you and bye-bye.
Bye.